What's going on, everyone? I don't even know what time it is. We got all these problems here. Whoops. Hold on. Someone had a mammogram done. Hold on. Evidently I'm getting notifications that we're having problems streaming on X. Oh, just one of those days. Just one of those days. Oh, what's Strider have to say? Well, crap, I can't make it. I'm at work at the time. Maybe I can pop in for on my 10-minute break. Well, Strider, you better pop into your 10-minute break because I need some anticipation of some fun news from New York Giant fans today because Jaylen Milroe is coming in to visit the Giants. I don't know if it's today or tomorrow. That should be interesting because the Giants, we like to look at quarterbacks. We don't like to draft them. Well, that's fucking crazy. We like to look at them. I've said it before. Joe Shane is the guy that goes on the lot, and he's what we refer to as a tire kicker. What's up, OG Knockout? What's up, Danny Does? What's up, Jaden Drones? What's up, Zach Attack? We're tire kickers. Shane is the ultimate tire kicker. Well, let's kick this tire a little bit. Oh, this quarterback might be good, but he's not perfect. We're not going to draft him unless he's perfect. There's got to be perfection, like Daniel Jones, because it was the year of Daniel. And I laughed that you bring up this herbologist. Dart at 3. Just shoot me already. I was talking to James Williams this morning. And we were talking about the draft. We were talking about everything going on, of course. And it's funny though, because the more and more that I watch Jackson Dart's film, and I'm not talking just the highlights, because I love it because now everyone is drooling over Abdul Carter. Well, you're only drooling over the highlights. You're not looking at anything else. You look at, and I love it because there's always these 6-minute videos. It's all highlights. Well, that's great. Highlights are great. It's like when the one person decided that that we got Russell Wilson. It's gonna be so fucking awesome. And they showed all the highlights. Yeah, just you see Will Wolfork there. I'm like, that's his rookie year. So you put in the kid's rookie year. Yeah, he's gonna look real good. So I started watching Jackson Dart over and over again. I wasn't going to get into this this early in the show. I started watching Jackson Dart film, and I watched everything. And I watched the ups, I watched the downs. And like I said, I am not 100% familiar. I know Lane Kiffin's offenses, but I'm not 100% familiar with the Ole Miss offense. Now, I'm assuming it's something that he ran similar, like at South Florida and other places that he was at. But I watched it, and if you look at the system itself, Lane Kiffin almost eliminated all the pre-snap reads and recognitions. And Jackson Dart, if you watch the games, didn't have to. He didn't have to really overly read or he basically was not a one read quarterback. He was a one side quarterback. He reminded me of what Pat Shurmur did with Daniel Jones that first year. Pat Shurmur, I said before, was the mad fucking genius. What he did with Daniel Jones that one year to make him look competent was he cut the field in half. He gave him 2 options, and he told him to throw to this spot. And if that spot's not available, just chuck it down to this spot. That's all he did. That's how well Daniel Jones played at times, but then the league figured it out and readjusted, and then we got the product of Daniel Jones. But if you take a look at the majority of Jackson Dart's throws, they're all on one side of the field. It's almost like they did the same thing. They cut the field in half. Now, I don't know if this is by design. I can't tell you because I don't know. But they basically did what they did with Daniel Jones. You limit his pre-snap reads, you limit his pre-snap recognitions, you cut down his progressions, you cut one side of the field down and just give him that side of the field to throw to, and you kind of forget about the other side of the field. And I'm watching this over and over again on different games, like the Florida game. I always point out, watch the Florida game and the Kentucky game. Those are the 2 games you really need to examine and find out what kind of quarterback Jackson Dart is. And I'm watching this, and I keep thinking, I'm seeing number 8. I'm seeing the college version of Daniel Jones, where you literally cut the field in half, you limit his options, and you flood everything to the one side. And that's what you do. And I agree. I think you take a chance with Dart. I think you rolled. I'm not Dart. You may take that out of the air. I think you take a chance with Sanders. But if you watch you watch the run of Rebels, you watch Ole Miss. He doesn't go through a lot of his progressions outside of one side of the field. Old timers will remember the former Golden Domer Rick Meyer. Rick Meyer, first round pick, went to highly touted first round pick out of Notre Dame, went to Seattle, had a good season in Seattle his rookie year. Very good season. And people are gonna say, well, Tim, he had like 16 touchdowns and 22 interceptions. Well, back in that day, that was a good season for a rookie. And one of the things that they did in Seattle was they did the same thing. They Daniel Jonesed it. They limited his play to one side of the field. Then the next year, the league kind of figured out Rick Meyer can't throw left. There's certain Nick players that I love that could never go left. And so the league figured out with Rick Meyer can't go left. So what did they start doing? They started stacking the right and forcing them to go left. And then Rick Meyer's career just went down fucking hill. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen with Jackson Dart. I'm not saying it's the same thing. Like I said, I don't know if it was the simplistic offense that at times was run at Ole Miss, and the reason, and I don't mean simplistic in regards to the fact that you just have one or two plays. I am sitting there saying simplistic in regards to the fact that you cut the field in half and you limit his progressions and his pre-snap reads. That should be red flags for someone that's even considering taking him in the first round. You have to hope and understand, okay, well, maybe Lane Kiffin did this because this is how he feels he needs to run the offense. Because when I watch it, like I said, I see Daniel Jones all over again. Quarterback who can run. Quarterback can get out of the pocket. Quarterback, though, who seems to be having issues with pre-snap reads and recognitions. And all of his progressions are on one side of the field. It's rookie year Daniel Jones. So with Jaylen Milroe coming in for a visit, I don't think he's one of the top 30 first round visits. I don't think he's coming in because the Giants are going to take him third overall. I think maybe the Giants may consider moving back up into the bottom half of the first round again, go get Milroe. And I think Milroe has progressed more than any quarterback outside after the end of his college season. I think he's shown more of a steady progression in regards to his footwork, in regards to his mechanics. Now, all this means nothing because as soon as you get into the fucking game, all that could go to shit. Because they always say it in boxing. Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. Then all that shit usually goes out the window. So I'm just kind of curious. With him coming in with the top, 30 visit, is it within the mindset of Joe Schoen to finally take an imperfect quarterback? Because none of these quarterbacks are perfect. Caleb Williams wasn't perfect. Jaden Daniels wasn't perfect. They were close to perfect, but they weren't perfect. They weren't. No quarterback taken in the first round is 100% sure thing. And I think, like I said, I don't want to say Schoen is gun shy, because he never pulls the trigger at all. I don't think Schoen has any bullets in the gun. But like I said, it disturbs me more and more that when I watch the Jackson Dart video. I don't watch just the highlights. I watch his whole offensive series. And like I said, what seemed Lane Kiffin did was cut the field in half, limit to completely remove his pre-snap reads, and have all the progressions on one side of the field. That's a little disturbing to me. So I have to wait and see. It's like the whole Abdul Carter thing. I'm so sick. This whole Abdul Carter. There's always one player that has this meteoric rise, and there's always this one player that has this serendipitous drop in the draft. And Abdul Carter is the riser, and Shedeur Sanders is the guy that's falling, allegedly. And Abdul Carter, to me, I'm. This draft alone is, like we've said it before, this is not the greatest draft this year. This is not like last year. You're deep at the running back class. I think you got some defensive line depth in reference to tackles, but this is not that stellar draft. It happens. It happens in the NBA all the time. You have a draft where maybe the top 10 guys are going to be, could potentially be difference makers, and anyone after that could be starters and everything. There'll always be a guy mixed in here and there. But this isn't that draft. This is not the draft where you take a look at it and go, this is laden with talent across the board. And I think that people are overemphasizing Abdul Carter. He's not Parsons. People forget that he spent 2 seasons as an off the ball. Carl Banks likes to bring it up. He also played off the ball linebacker. He spent 2 seasons as an off the ball linebacker. Who is microphone guy? I don't know who that is. Mike or a phone? I don't know who that is. But he spent 2 seasons. I'm not reading the chat yet, Eric. I'm going to get to the chats. He spent 2 seasons as an off the ball linebacker, and they thought of him so much as being that special player at linebacker. When they lost 2 players to the draft last year, they moved him to defensive end. You can raise more havoc, from the linebacker position and be on the field more if you are in the linebacking position. Just look at Lawrence Taylor, look at Parsons. So, and all I see again is and then I love it because people are like, well, he had 1 year defensive end. So that's why he only has 1 move. That's why he only has that speed move. He's only had 1 year defensive end. That's why he only has that 1 move. And we're gonna coach him up. We're gonna teach him to be better. And I laugh because I'm like, okay, we're gonna coach him up. Who have we coached up? Who have we cultivated into a better player over the last X amount of years? Does anyone remember who we've done that with? Because I really can't think. So we're going to take a guy that's only had 1 season as a defensive end, and we're going to put him, and we're going to take him at 3 and build packages for him. And I've said it before. I've said it, Logan Ryan, other people said it before. You can't take a guy at 3 that you want to design a NASCAR package around. He's got to be a guy that's going to be take 85, 90% of the snaps. Not at 3. You can't. And speed can be equalized in the NFL. It can never be totally discounted, but Al Davis, former Raider owner, general manager, team president, loved to draft guys because of speed. Oh, he's got speed. But the problem is a lot of those speed guys just don't work out because football's not played in a straight line. And when Abdul Carter tries to do the Abdul Carter dip, it's just not going to work. I'm sorry. And like I said, I'm not trying to be mean or obtuse about it, but I'm just saying it's not going to, you cannot continuously, run a play where all you're going to do is dip your shoulder and use your speed to get around the guys, because that's not going to work in the NFL. And you can't tell me I'm taking a guy 3rd overall who this is what he does, and I'm going to say, well, just because this is what he does, he'll be good because we're going to coach him up and we're going to teach him pass moves. Didn't we say the same thing about O'Shane Ximines? Like I said, I love the dip. Watch, it's the dip. See, you just dip around. That's all. There's not much there. I mean, yeah, just from the bowl game, you just dip around, and then when his shoulder got hurt, outside of that 1 sack against a freshman who then just stifled him, they just shoved him into the dirt when he no longer could use his speed dip move. And you don't think tackles like someone like an Andrew Thomas or someone else is going to not figure out how to stop him? And we're going to take him at 3 and we're going to teach him things? At 3, you should be more of a finished project than you are a project. And at 3, you should not be having to build packages. When you dip, we dip. I put my hand up on my hip. That was a great video. I did a short called The Dip. And I mean, it was a great, I really actually enjoyed doing that video. Do I have it though? I think I might have the whole video. I think hold on. Let's see if I have it. Oh yeah, we got it. Let's load this up. Let's load up the one, the only We like to do this every once in a while. We are gonna have what I like to refer to as the Abdul Carter dip. Oh my god! I have to what you call it though. I have to. I gotta convert it. I gotta convert it to what you call it. Oh wait, I think I got it right here. Oh my god! Let's see. Do we have it? Hold on. I think I have it. My computer's running real slow though. Oh, here we go. I just have to. Let's just. We're gonna share this. I found the video. It's just. You know what it is? It's just what Giant fans are. I'm not sure, and I'm not trying to sit here and pick on all Giant fans because it's not true. I mean, it would be it would be highly insulting if I said it's all Giant fans. There's just a segment of Giant fans that we want to look at so many things, and but the problem is we never look at what we need to look at. We look at what we see, and we see the highlights, and that's what everyone does. Everyone's like, okay, well the highlights are awesome. Yeah, okay. If you break down the highlights of the likes of Jackson Dart, yeah, they look great. But like I said, but once you start building up and taking a look at the totality of the entire picture of what he does, you kind of say, well, there's a lot of things here that you probably don't like. But as Giant fans, we just take everything that we see and we're just like, okay, well, he's gonna be the great. He's gonna. I'm sorry, I'm downloading. He's gonna be the greatest thing ever. You know, guys, I just wish there was. I just wish there was more to some of the things that we do and some of the things that we see as Giant fans, but we just don't. And like I said, Joe Shane to me is sitting here looking for the perfect solution at quarterback. He's like, I have to find this perfect solution at quarterback. And no quarterback's ever going to be perfect. But the problem is, like I said, I think he's gun shy. I think he doesn't want to take that risk or that chance, because if he takes that risk or that chance and he's wrong, then he's never going to hear the end of it. And I think that's the Joe Shane biggest problem. It's that fear that is driving Shane now that is just making things worse for this organization. It's the fear that you have a guy that is not going to, that is basically fighting for his job. You got a head coach that they're fighting for their job. And they're going to, if you look at the moves that were made this offseason, a lot of them don't make sense. Like I said, I love the Paulson Adebo move. I think if he is what he was before he got hurt, great move. But how can you tell me that you were bringing in a press cover corner who plays man to man in a Shane Bowen system when Tay Banks already failed at it? And you drafted Banks because you had Wink. And you've already seen that Banks does not fit in the same system, and they're similar players. Oh, here we go. We got it. We got to follow you up later. We're, for by popular demand, it is the. I'm sorry, I was dancing. So you can't tell me they're not going to figure out. I know what to do with the side Abdul Carter. It goes up. I put a tight end or I put a running back in the backfield. The dip has already been neutralized. Oh, let's get to the chat. Let's give them something to talk about. Let's go to the chat. Let's see here. Strider. Let's see. We already got that. Zach says, funny thing about patting the ball debate is that former safety that started most of his career boss by Satan and Trash Can Dan patted the ball. Dan Marino patted the ball. You know what I thought was funny? I was watching the history of Joe Namath. Joe Namath patted the ball. Tom Brady pats the ball. Patrick Mahomes pats the ball. It's just utter nonsense. It really is. New York state of mind. What do you really want the Giants to do at 3? Trade back. You know what you need? You need a tight end. Trade back into the 10th, 11th spot if possible, or trade whoever grabs Tyler Warren. You're not going to get a quarterback, get a tight end at least. Get a tight end that can at least catch the ball. We haven't had one of those. Truly had one of those since Shockey. That's what I would do. Danny Dunn says, the best time of the year is being a Giant fan for the last 10 years is upon us. Draft day, the only thing we look forward to and usually get wrong. Big Greg in the house. The Giants need to take a chance. Roll the dice on. I agree. Take him. Go get, if you can get Sanders, grab him. If Sanders is sitting there at 3 and you pass at him, Joe Shane should be fired after the draft. Craig does not want Jackson Dart. New York's turn, right? I agree. You could draft a tight end at 3. You can't take a tight end at 3. I always go back to the Kyle Pitts scenario years ago, and everyone told me I was fucking crazy. There's certain positions you cannot take in the top 10. Those positions are tight end and defensive tackle. You don't take those in the top 10. Because if you go by positional value, those are not top 10 positions. And we went through the number of tight ends and defensive tackles that were taken in the top 10, and it's not that outside of a couple sprinklings here and there, it's not really an impressive group. And I said the same thing when Kyle Pitt came out. I did a whole video about it. I said you can't take him that high. You want to trade back and take Kyle Pitt? I got no problem with that because he was a quasi wide receiver tight end. He was Evan. I even said in the video, he's Evan Ingram. Again, I didn't know what I was talking about, man. I was look. There was a hold on. Stupid Giant Twitter post. Oh, I can't remember the name of this person on the Stupid Giant Twitter post, but it was a reply to one of my comments, and he goes, "Yeah, this is coming from the same guy that wanted to draft Malik Willis in the first round." I said, "Well, first of all, I didn't want to draft Malik Willis in the first round. I said that a million times before. Said that 1,000 times before, but no one ever actually watches the video." And I happened to point out the fact that Matt LaFleur came out and said that the Packers do not make the playoffs without Malik Willis. Brian Callahan, or I think it's Brian Callahan, the head coach of the Titans, just gave an interview where he basically implied we made a mistake by trading Malik Willis. Kept telling people he's going to need at least a year on the bench, another 2-3 years to maturate. But you know what? We don't want to do that. New York State. I'm thinking future past 1 or 2. Okay. James says only 5 likes. Hit the like button. Mr. Taz says, well, what do we need? We need to draft you need to draft the next quarterback year after Shane is fired. So you bring the quarterback this year, he'll be gone because the new GM next year will want his own guy. We've seen that in Arizona. We saw that with Josh Rosen and Kyler Murray. It's a possibility. It could happen. But the problem is this: if you never draft anyone, see, Mr. Taz, you're jaded. Because you have Jalen Hurts. You're jaded. I was watching a OG only video because every once in a while I'll put out an OG members only video, and it was about Daniel Jones and Jalen Hurts, about who I would take. And I did the video. This was 3 years ago, and I did the video before that said if you put a gun to my head, I would have to take Jalen Hurts because I think he's this, and I was right about all of it. But then I watched the OG video, and the OG video was like, well, you know what? I've watched more and more of it. And you don't even need to put a gun to my head. I said you would have to put a gun to my head to take Daniel Jones, not the other way around. So you got a guy that's gone to the Super Bowl twice and won one. So yeah, you're kind of jaded. We got James Williams giving out big salutes and chats. Jared says, what does Jared say? My mouse is like sticking here.
That's what she said.
Jared says, even if we don't take Sanders, we have to take a chance on someone in the round 2 or trade back up. Here's the thing: if you don't draft a quarterback at 2, I'm at 3. I got to take a running back at 2. We have a video coming out, I think, on Saturday that I discussed about the running backs. And I'm not saying Tyrone Tracy is not going to be this wonderful every down back, but there's also an opportunity that he could be a Butch Woolfolk or a New Orleans Darkwa. You don't know. And is he that bell cow back, that every down back? Is he that grind out and in between the tackles back? No. And he still has a propensity to fumble. He's still learning the position. It would make sense to literally get a downhill runner. And there are plenty in this draft. But the problem is, if you don't take your quarterback at this is the other thing that I think this will screw up the draft. If you don't take your quarterback early, I don't see you taking one unless you trade back up into the first round. I don't see you taking one until like the 4th or 5th round. Because there's still so many needs on this team. People talk about this great depth in free agency, but when you have depth plate pieces backing up depth pieces starting, that's not a way to go. So if you don't take your quarterback at 3, you're probably not taking him in the first round. I would have to go running back. I would go running back second round either way. And you're probably not going to take him in the third round because you still need a linebacker, still need a defensive tackle, and this is a better defensive tackle draft for depth and quality. I don't know. I don't know what the Giants are good. OG knockout. Slider's got the slider. Thank you. Hold on. Wait, we gotta go back to that. Slider's got the ball. Call the ball. Okay, Greg says go the Texans route. Get Shador and Hunter. It'll cost you a lot, but see, the problem was the Texans didn't have to pay a lot because that trade was already made prior to the draft. We can't do that. We're not a Hunter / Sanders away from being a good playoff team. We're not, and you know that, Greg. And the Texans was a different beast because the Texans didn't. This was preordained from what the trade was. So we can't really go that way. OG Knockout says, "What merit and infatuation with a quarterback like Daniel Jones is kind of weird. I still can't understand why we stuck with Daniel Jones for 6 years." Shaking my head. If you literally sit there, Nick's playoff prediction. How much trouble are we in? B. Willie, another thing James and I were talking about this. When you're giving Precious Achiuwa 30-plus minutes and you pull your starters against a team you're going to see in the playoffs instead of grinding them into the dirt, I got problems with Tibbs. I got a lot of problems with Tibbs. I understand he's doing it for safety reasons, but then you don't play your guys at all. But we'll talk about that later. But like I said, I don't understand the infatuation with Daniel Jones. It made zero sense to me. Everyone outside the New York bubble said the same thing. Daniel Jones just isn't the guy. We're the only ones that didn't see it. Jared said, "I'd love it if we get both, but not sure it's possible." It's not possible. Sanders would have to fall serendipitously for that to happen. New York State of Mind says, just like you don't know what a prospect will be, you don't know where you would be drafting next year and would be there at 3 at the time. I mean, that's the thing. Everyone's like, well, Arch Manning's coming out. We're going to get Arch Manning. But, okay, here's the problem. No, the Knicks are not a first-round exit. Here's the problem. This is why, not saying people in this chat, just probably chat sports fans. This is why Giants fans have been voted the stupidest fans in the NFL. You're making all these moves. Your goal is to get to the playoffs. But, wait for it. I'm going to have a little say Stewart here. Dramatic pause. But, your goal is also to get Arch Manning, who is probably going to go 1 overall. So your immediate goal is to make your playoffs, and your future goal is to get Arch Manning. You see how they kind of don't fit together? You see how you're trying to take a square peg and shove it into a round hole? You can't do both. If you make the playoffs, you're going to give up a plethora of picks just to get up to the first overall pick to maybe get Archie Manning. So you've just defeated the purpose, and then you're gutting your future roster build for a guy that's going to come into a playoff team that you think will be the guy. This is why we are voted the stupidest fan base. Another knucklehead in the is that Mike. Who's Microphone? I don't know who that. I don't know who Microphone is. He said the Giants are amazing for agency with Russ, and the good draft could be a wild card team. Oh dear Lord. Oh dear Lord. No on Dart, man. I agree, Greg. Greg also says they said Dable turned Josh into an MVP. Nah, Josh turned Dable into a head coach before. Oh, I always loved it before. Alan Dable had more stops than a megabus. Go back outside of college and look at, and we've done it before. Go look at what Dable's career was before Josh Allen in the pros. And Josh Allen strangely got better when Dable left, and he won an MVP. Mr. Dad says they draft fig trees and cultivate them. These figs into weeds. I agree. We already did the dip. Should we do the dip again? One more time. Here we go. It's that And how do you stop Abdul Carter in this league? Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. You ready for this? You pull the cave on Thibodeau. You use his speed against him. You push him to the outside, make him loop around, and you keep it back. And you keep running back on a tight end on his side of the field. Not that hard to figure out, guys. And like I said, if I could figure it out, we got problems. Let's see here. Where are we at here? We got the Texan route one. We got the James Williams saying hello to everyone. Give me Will Howard if we aren't taking Shador. No, Will Howard. Will Howard probably had the worst combine I've seen in years. The worst I've seen in a year. Pedro, good morning, good sir. Did you see the Abdul Carter post on Twitter today? No, I did not. I have not been on Twitter today. Big Tim, did you hear that John Gruden called Will Howard the next White Vic? Will Howard is a fucking redwood. He has some mobility. And I love Coach Gruden. Coach Gruden is the only person that I literally sat there and let them yell at me. Let them yell at me for hours. Heard every name in the book. Heard certain things I've never heard before, and I come from a Marine family. Heard some things you never heard before. But he is a redwood. Has some mobility, big arm. Just he doesn't. When you watch the out routes at the combine with Jaylen Milroe, you could see that he worked on his footwork and he had been working on his mechanics on his throwing motion. You watched Will Howard do the same throws. Yikes. And that's with nobody in your face. Greg also says Jackson Dark's biggest weakness, he struggles under pressure, looks onto the first read, his footwork gets sloppy, and when the heat is on, sounds like another. Like I said, I watched, I would say, at least 6 Jackson Dark games. And I've been doing it, and I told James, I said, I must be bored. And I've been doing it over the last couple days, and I don't understand. Did Lane Kiffin just cut the field in half? He literally looks like he cut the field in half. Pulled the Pat Shurmur, Daniel Jones, cut the field in half, and move everything to one side, and you limit his pre-snap reads and his progressions by just doing that. And he did that a lot, going to one side of the field. And like I said, if will it turn into a Rick Meyer situation? I don't know. Seti says, Tim, I know you want the Giants to draft Parsons. What is the difference between Parsons? Well, first of all, Parsons was more of an impactful player, not off. I should rephrase it. Parsons was more of an impactful player off the ball. Parsons was the type of guy that you put in many different positions on the field. Parsons knew there are certain players that have what we like to refer to as, I always use the old cliche, a nose for the ball. And a nose for a ball means you always know where that ball is. Blake Martinez, for a linebacker who did not have the greatest lateral mobility, knew where to position himself to be at the ball, be the ball. He knew where to put himself. He knew where the play was going to flow to, and that's what Parsons does. Parsons still does it. He has a feel for the game. And a feel for the game is something you cannot teach. Parsons knows how to directly go after the quarterback. He did not need to rely purely on speed as his ability to get to the quarterback itself, and as his ability to make the play. Right now, if you watch Abdul Carter, basically what he does is, like I said, it's all speed. That's what it is. And, and if it works in, for a period of time and you're being successful, that's what you're going to do. There's no downside to that. And in the 2 years that Parsons played at Penn State, I believe he was what you call it. I think he was he was third or second in the Big Ten his last year with 109 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. You saw the pass rushing ability in Parsons, but he was more integral to the team as a linebacker and as a guy that had the mobility to move around the defensive backfield, that second level, and could still go after the quarterback. But he was not told that's what he does. He is an instinctive player. And to me, Abdul Carter is not an instinctive player because right now he relies on natural talent and ability. We always go back to the old Roy Hobbs and the natural. And Roy Hobbs' father told you have talent, but talent's not enough. And those are the main differences to me. That if you watch Parsons, that especially that last season when he had 109 tackles, 5 sacks, 14 tackles for loss, he literally was he was like shit. He was all over the field. They always say dog shit's everywhere. If you have a dog, you understand that expression. That's not what Abdul Carter does. Abdul Carter, I think averaged 50 tackles his first year. Excuse me, first 2 years as an off the ball linebacker. And that's when they moved him because of his speed. He's not an instinctive player yet. And I don't know if he's going to grow into it. I can't tell you, but I can't take a guy at 3 that I feel like is not, that you have to A, build packages for, and B, is not as instinctive player like Parsons was. Mr. Style. I like Mr. Style. I think the Giants take Hunter at 3, get Milroe in the second round if he's there. Listen, if you don't take your quarterback at 3 and Shedeur Sanders is sitting there, we're a bunch of fucking morons. If Shedeur Sanders is not there and Hunter is there, you have to take Travis Hunter. I've said it a million times before. It's teams picking at 3 do not have the luxury of picking best player available because you're normally a bad team. But the Giants we are a bad team, but we're kind of in this weird quandary that we would have to make that move, even though Travis Hunter doesn't completely fit anywhere on this team. You gave Paulson Adebo 54-36 guaranteed. You drafted Banks 2 years ago. You took Phillips last year. You still have Cordell Flott. You run a bend, not break, zone-style defense, and you're bringing in all these press cover corners that don't fit Shane Bowen's system. On offense, I don't think Malik Neighbors is going to be happy. You taking away some of his targets. You gave $36 million to Darius Slayton. You still have Wan'Dale Robinson. And James Williams pointed out, and I came up with a team, but he goes, James had a great point. What team has taken wide receivers in the top 10 in consecutive years? And the only one I could think of was going back to the old Detroit Lion days when they took Carlos Rogers, Roy Williams, and then Mike Williams in 3 consecutive years in the top 10. And that worked out horribly. Mr. Taz says, per Jasper, the Giants are training with the Chiefs to give it a turn to fit to the guy Patrick Mahomes. I'm surprised that's not one of their breaking news headlines. It's breaking news headlines. The Giants are digging up Johnny Unitas. Film at 11. Some of y'all too young to understand that song. It's when a guy's actually dance with a girl. That's such a great song now. C-Max says, Charlie Weiss says Jackson Dart will be the best quarterback in the draft. Poor Charlie Weiss. He lost his mind ever since the whole Notre Dame fiasco. Pete Turner says, yes, Tim, trade back. That's exactly what we need. Trade back, get Ty Warren. You want to open up the field for Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston? You want to open up the center of the field for Tyrone Tracy? You want to take pressure away from Malik Neighbors? Go get a tight end. Get rid of the fucking Theo Johnson mistake. Ty Warren is 10 times better of a tight end, kind of a Travis Kelce type guy. Go get that. Go open the offense up by taking the pressure away from the outside and dumping it into the middle of the field and see what happens one-on-one with Malik Neighbors. Jackson Dart. Oh, no, that's all right. I like Jackson Dart better, so it was all right, C-Mac. Peter says we need the picks and has so many holes. I will sacrifice Sanders for more picks. Only quarterback, in my opinion, that I would be like, sure, this class is Ward, and he'll be gone at 1, so trouble. Trade back. Get some good picks. I think Joe Sheen had, 11 or 12 picks that first draft, and I think he only hit on 1. So he's 1 for 11. I don't know. Mr. Alvarez says, people say this is the deep defensive line defense class, so why don't you take Carter at 3 when the Giants can take a good defensive line later in the rounds, address offense early, and take Sanders if he's there? It's almost crazy like not taking a quarterback last year in an extremely deep wide receiver draft. I agree. This, to me, like I said, there's a lot of depth pieces and a lot of good pieces at the defensive line position here in this year's draft. I have taken, let's see, I would have taken Malik in the first round at least with one of those two picks and two players. We took Kayvon Thibodeau and freaking Evan Neal. Daryl Smith says, Morning, Tim and Chad. It's starting to feel like the organization is never going to spend a single bit of draft capital on the quarterback for the foreseeable future. Jerry Reese, Dave Gettleman, and a little bit of Ernie Accorsi. But Ernie Accorsi also, I believe, brought in Antonio Pierce. They neglected linebackers. Always neglected linebackers. Now, the Joe Schoen regime, all we're doing is neglecting the quarterback position. It's not that important of a position. Make sure you hit the like button. If you don't hit the like button, nothing's going to happen, but I don't know. I don't know. Just hit the like button. Playoff predictions. Knicks are going to the ship. That's my predictions. Knicks are going. Knicks were on the first round exit watch. No, they're not. Let's hear Travis Hunter in round 1, Colin McCord round 2, Caleb Johnson round 3, Tyler Booker, and Mason Taylor. I can't take Colin McCord in the second round. Fourth, third, end of third, fourth, maybe. Developmental offensive lineman, defensive lineman, 6 and I agree. Let's see. If Sanders and Ward aren't there, trade back, grab an offensive player, draft Milroe in the second. Perfect project in the quarterback class because he can sit behind two quarterbacks with similar play. Milroe senior day was horrible. I didn't go to senior day. Is that like senior skip day? Do you mean the Senior Bowl? Jackson Dart didn't look great at the Senior Bowl either. So, I love the big play that everyone talks about. Jackson Dart is that throw down the middle of the field. Oh, I love that play. They're like, did you see him thread the ball between two defenders? And I thought to myself, well, you know what? If you threw it a little higher and over the defenders, you could hit your wide receiver in stride and it's a touchdown. But he just didn't have the velocity to get the ball out. Even Kurt Warner says he throws the ball flat. No, Dable did not pick. Yep, Bean drafted. I don't know. We agree. We all agree about Brandon Bean 100%. Hello, Trent. What's up? It's going more than brothers. Mr. Roberts also says that if the Giants become a wild card team, that means then again they played themselves out of a top pick again. So you play themselves out of a top quarterback. We will never have a number 1 quarterback on this roster again. There is this expectation of hope for the Giants doing something at quarterback. But I think that fear, I still think that fear is guiding Joe Schoen. I think he is like a scared little puppy. Joe Schoen is a scared little puppy who's hiding under the couch. We got to rescue. We don't know what the dog is. Got no fucking clue. Could be a German Shepherd, but it could be a wolf. Could be a fox. Could be, I don't know. We don't know what this dog is. No idea. And the people that we got the rescue from, they don't know what the dog is either. And this dog is now 16 or 17 weeks old. When we first got it, the dog, because we have other dogs too, she wouldn't play with the other dog. She would just hide under the couch until the other dogs left. That's Joe Schoen. I'm gonna hide under the couch. I'm gonna hide under Tim's couch until the draft's over. This way I don't have to pick a quarterback. Will Howard is made of glass. Will Howard he's like I said, he's a fucking redwood. Tim, the Abdul Carter, when I dip, you dip, we dip, it was cracking me up. But that's what he does. And like I said, people that talk about the difference between Carter and Parsons, they're two totally fucking different players. Parsons was an every down linebacker on the field, a destructive force who was not just solely bent on going after the quarterback. Abdul Carter for 2 years played off the ball linebacker, and I believe the most tackles he had was 50 something. And it wasn't until Penn State lost 2 defensive ends in the draft last year they decide, you know what, let's use Carter's speed and put him on the defense. Let's put his hand in the dirt and go against slower offensive tackles. And like I said, how do you negate that in the NFL? It's not that difficult to sit there It's not that hard to figure out. Push him wide, use the speed against him, his over aggressiveness against him, put a tight end and a running back on that side. Chip him. When that's your move, is the dip and try to go around with speed, it's not going to work in the NFL. Ask Kayvon Thibodeau. How many times did we cry that Kayvon Thibodeau was cut? James and I, first 2 years, was screaming at Kayvon Thibodeau, first 3 years actually, that he's cutting his rush too wide. You could see it. You could see the tackle taking him out of the play by pushing him to the sideline. He didn't start getting sacked, especially that second year, until he started cutting his rush to the inside. Abdul Carter is going to do what he does and does what he's going to understand what he does. And one of the things that he does well is use a speed rush and the dip to get around on the outside. It's not going to work in the NFL for long, if at all. Let's assume Will Howard is the next Vanilla Vic. What happened to the last Vanilla Vic? We can get a game changer at 3 on offense, then draft defensive lineman. That's what you need to have. You're right. Mr. Roberts says, speaking of being, some people crucified him for taking Josh, but like he said, I believe it was last year was only a reach if he doesn't pan out. Off Broadway. What's up, Tim? Off Broadway. The lights. Greg says, Will Howard had the luxury of playing with a stacked squad, elite wide receiver, solid back, and offensive line that gave him time to throw. Now pitcher Shedeur Sanders on that same roster. And I'm going to say this one more time for the people in the cheap seats. I'm gonna get my megaphone. I'm gonna get my megaphone out here.
Just so you know, Shedeur Sanders was not sacked 50 plus times last season. That was in 2023.
Because I still see that online. Well, he was sacked 50 times last year. No, he sacked 42. He threw the ball 100 plus times more and sacked 10 times less. And in those throws, he gained almost 1,000 more yards than the season prior. All Shedeur Sanders has done is progress since Jackson State into what he is. And I'm sorry, Jackson State has played some better competition than Northern Georgia and Furman. Calling Carter the next Parsons is like calling Jones the next Eli Manning. We had some people that said that. Sorry for the Caps. That's all right. It's a mistake. Caps happened. Didn't bother me. Brandon says, hey, Tim, 7 years we have gone without getting a quarterback. We need one. Russell ain't it. Every season I hear, wait until next year. How long we're going to have to wait? Wait for it, Brandon. Wait till next year. wait till next year. When we make the playoffs, picking like 22nd, but somehow we are going to get Arch Manning. It literally makes my head hurt. He's no bum, but he's not a Lawrence Taylor. No, I don't think he's a bum. Don't care about the combine. Howard is the third or fourth since he's taken this fall. Still think someone takes him early. His tape looks good. Actually, it doesn't. He won a national championship. The first half of that championship game, I said to James Williams and T. Brad and a couple other people, if he continues this into the second half, you're going to have every single Giant fan clamoring for Will Howard. He dropped off. And then he had his wonderful combine. I'm not taking Carter at 3 when you can get TJ Sanders later. I think there are better defensive ends in this draft, and we'll have to go through that. Let's see here. Just thinking about the money that comes with Sanders' name. What is the money? I mean, but I don't understand. What does that mean? The money that comes with Sanders' name. You mean in reference to jersey sales? Oh yeah. James says Furman, the elite secondary, shaded the field in the class like they only left Dart to the side. I was joking with James this morning that when they played the mighty Furman and Jackson Dart had his 5 touchdowns, since they are the top liberal arts college of the South, basically what they did is they saw the sun on one side, so they just started shading the other side of the field for Jackson Dart. That's why he only had to go one way. Orlando says, does Joe Shane think we should do? You know what? We should listen to Joe Shane's son. Kid got it right. I loved what he still said. You're not going to have this job forever, Dad. Mr. Taz, when do the Giants address their offensive line? Does that matter who the quarterbacks is if they are DOA? Giants draft their offensive line and address it every year. And I will tell you this, one of my when it comes to evaluating certain college players, quarterbacks have been spot on, except for a few people here and there. Not even a few people, maybe like one here and there. Wide receivers, defensive players, I've been spot on. I have not been spot on with offensive players, offensive linemen outside of the bust that the Giants have taken, but some of the other people that I thought weren't going to be good, turned out to be really good. But you look at some of the players this Giants draft, and I pretty much said all of them are bums going back to Matt from Connecticut. And I still love it because when we drafted Matt from Connecticut, I kept saying it's going to take 5 years for him to become a player. I got blasted about that draft video. I was like, but if you watched him at Connecticut, he's a slender guy, and when he tried to put on weight, he hurt his back, and he just didn't have the attributes. And I said he was going to take 4 to 5 years to progress and before becoming maybe a solid offensive tackle. But when I'll tell people, like I said, that's one of the things I don't do well is evaluate certain offensive linemen on the draft. Outside of centers, I've done pretty good with centers, but I don't do that. That's not something that I do well. So maybe that's something the Giants don't do well for the last 25 years. Hit that like button. Stop fronting. We got 87 people in the room. I don't know how many are on that other sphere. We have a 25 likes. We should be at 30 likes. 37 likes is where we should be at. Is a dog a dire wolf? What's a dire wolf? What is a dire wolf? I have to look that up. Dire wolf. What is a dire wolf? Oh my God. Hold on a minute. Do dire wolves become, are they black? Or do they just have to be white? That's a little scary. I'm looking at the, okay, like that picture right there. That's a little, yeah, okay. Well, that's a little weird. Do I have a picture of the dog? Hold on. Let me see if I have a picture of the dog. I gotta have a recent picture of the dog somewhere around here. I'm looking here real quick. Because, like I said, nobody knows what this dog is. No one has any fucking clue. There is and the way she walks, she doesn't walk. She's kind of saunters. She has this sachet about her. And if you ever watched a coyote or a wolf, you kind of sit there and you see it and you're like, huh, that's kind of what my dog does. Because I've seen wolves in person in the wild. They have this way that they walk. And of course I don't have one picture of the dog. How do you not have one picture of your dog? I mean, not a good picture of a dog. Oh, wait, here we go. I got a picture. This is a younger picture. Here we go. Hold on. Here we go. Here we go. We're gonna export this file. I still haven't set up my new computer, so everyone just shut up. I haven't set it up yet. I'm still working on it. I've been busy. It's bike season. I got a new bike. So I've been busy. So I've been busy with that project. Let me see here. Here we go. Here. This was at the oops, no, hold on. Oh, we don't need that. I'm deleting that. Hold on, people. All right, here we go. I got the overlay. Let me go with that there. Here we go. We're uploading the file. Oh my God. Things that I do for this channel. Here we go. Okay, that's the dog. Now she's got this elongated snout. The ear's like a thing, but she's got this weird compact body and these long ass legs. And she's got one blue eye, which we thought husky. But then she doesn't have any other husky attributes. But then she's got these long ass legs. And like I said, she literally walks. When she walks, it's almost like a wolf. So I've seen wolves and coyotes in the wild. So the first thing I say, it's a fucking coyote. The mama got it on with a coyote. And then I love it because the people from the rescue are like, well, we had to look up if you can have multiple genetics from multiple partners. So they were wondering if mama got busy with like a bunch of dogs, and they all kind of combine together for this super dog. I'm the only person that I know that gets a dog like this. The bad news bears things wait till next year. Let's see here. Ms. Roberts says, I just saw Abdul Carter tweet a picture of Lawrence Taylor with the quote in the picture that once a giant, always a giant. I think Shane is going to do something not smart thing. Yeah, you're right, because he's not a linebacker. I remember, though, when Yannick Ngakoue posted a picture of Lawrence Taylor when he was going to be a free agent. And all the Giant fans were crazy. Oh, my God, we're going to get Yannick Ngakoue. And I kept saying, no. I said, stay away from that guy. And again, I got blasted. I said, stay away from that guy, because he wanted to go to Baltimore. He actually ended up in Baltimore that season, but he wasn't a fit for the Giants. He was not a fit for the Giants. Orlando, what's the craziest part? I don't know. What's the craziest part? Let's see here. Luke, love the Rick Meyer comparison. Very astute. But that's the thing. A lot of people aren't going to thank you, Luke. A lot of people aren't going to remember Rick Meyer. I remember watching Rick Meyer in college. And I remember after that first season in Seattle, he just dropped off the fucking planet because he couldn't throw left. And it wasn't like it wasn't obvious. And the way Seattle designed the offense that first year, it reminds me of Jackson Dart. If you look what they did at Ole Miss, majority of Jackson Dart's throwers are to one side of the field. And it's like they just cut out his pre-snap reads, they cut out his progressions, and they gave him just one side of the field, which reminds me of Daniel Jones and Rick Meyer. Orlando says, the craziest part about this is that Dable and Shane will finish out their contracts. I hope to God not. Petro says, I think we trade down. Signing Russ and Wilson makes one quarterback at 3 on the depth charts. Seem crazy to me. Really knocked this comp. Well, here's the thing about why it doesn't make sense to me, because you have two guys fighting for their NFL lives. You need an impact player at 3 that's going to play immediately. And that's not Shedeur Sanders. That's why I don't think they're going quarterback. Let's see here. If we draft Sanders, New York immediately becomes a good landing spot for future play. You're right. I agree with that, because then you think, well, this team's got a quarterback. No more planes over MetLife. I always think that's funny. Bike season. Do you MS race down the ocean? No. Not motorcycle. Not a bike. Not a little, one of these, and that's what I do. I like the little mini. I don't like them. I love the ape hangers, not a chopper, but I'm sitting there back like this, got everything going on. That's what we're talking about, bike season. But then I went a different route, because they Harley Davidson makes a new motorcycle called the Nightster. And it's part of their Sportster cruiser section, and it's bigger than their other bikes, and it's got all the bells and whistles. I've always been a purist, but this thing has got and it's got the new Revolution engine, and it's got literally it's got this you got the display with navigation and cruise control and heated grips, and when you get older, you start looking for comfort. And I didn't want I didn't want a soft tail, because I got a soft tail, but and I didn't want a touring bike. I just wanted something that was fun to tool around, and this had all the features. Logic's fine. This says we won't change Marin, Shane, and Dable. The Giants are 12 players away, and the GM and coach are Muppets. It's a bad situation to be around. That's a wolf. See? That's my thought process. That's a wolf. I got a fucking wolf in my house. And it's the way she stalks her prey outside that gets me. And like I said, she's got this saunter about her. She got this move. I'm trying to see. I never set up my pictures either. I've only had this computer for I don't know how long, and I have nothing set up. Let me see if I get a bigger picture of her. Because she looks like a freaking wolf. And then I get worried, though, because then I'm like, I got a wolf in my house. Oh, that's even a better picture. Hold on. That's a better picture of her. And then you guys can tell me if she's a wolf or not, because I think she's a wolf. And she's got, like I said, the way she moves and the way she stands there, and the way, and at night, she particularly freaks me out. because she's got this like I don't know. She's always like she's on heightened. Oh, that's a better picture to tell me if she's a wolf. Okay, screw the Giants a minute. This is important. This is important stuff. I found some pictures. We need some type of indication whether the dog in my house, and it wouldn't be a shock to me. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be stunned if it turned out that the dog we own is a wolf. Because it's just me. I have a good friend of mine, Tom. He used to tell me all the time. He goes, Tim. He goes, if anyone ever told me or told me stories that you tell me about half the shit that you've done and been through and all this, I wouldn't believe people. I would believe anyone else. But he's like, I've been there with you. I've been there with you when this shit happened. So and I told him, he goes, and if this dog turned out to be a wolf, I wouldn't be shocked. Okay, here we go. There she is right there. That's our other dog. And there she is right there. So you're thinking about it, you're looking at it, you're going, maybe a German Shepherd, maybe with something mixed in with a collie, got the socks on. But then you go to the outside pictures. Okay, she's got this weird head, these long ass legs, this long ass body, and like I said, she saunters when she walks. And if you've ever seen a wolf or a coyote, they got this saunter about them. That's what she does. So I'm thinking Mama got it on with part of a wolf. Petro says, what about Brian Burns is going to be? What about Abdul Carter? Yeah, Carter is a diehard Eagles fan, too. People forget about it. What's up, Big Roy, all the way from Indian Land, South Carolina? See, I think it's a wolf. No, see, she just doesn't have all the qualities of a German Shepherd. It's weird. And she's almost 5 months old. I don't know. She's a wolf. I think she's a wolf. A Belgian what? Kind of looks like a Belgian. I don't know what that one is. I gotta look up that one too. Okay, all right. So here we go. Stanley says, "Hey Tim, you think the Knicks should fire Thibodeau and hire?" I don't know about hiring Mike Malone, but I do think if the Knicks falter this playoff run, yeah, you got to get rid of Thibodeau. It's Thibodeau's biggest issue is even going back to Minnesota and Chicago. He doesn't cultivate and maturate young players. And he doesn't play his bench. In the playoffs, that's going to work, but it's called an old German Shepherd dog. I just Googled the picture. Okay. Oh no, we've tried Google imaging the picture too. It comes up something different every time. Take that dog Wolf to a local farm and see if it kills some chickens, then you'll have your answer. Well, James, there's a farm right across the street. Don't have to go very far. Go past my backyard, and there's a farm. I want Sanders or Milroe, no one else. Well, we should get someone else. Tim says, large friend, dogs and wolves can't mate with each other, only in a laboratory. Well, how do I know she wasn't in a laboratory? How do I know she wasn't over in Wuhan? You don't know. And why can't they mate? What's genetically wrong with a penis going in a vagina? I'm not. It's all fat Milroe, but at 34, that's tough. I'm all fat. I don't know. I listen. Like I said, if you take Jaylen Milroe in the second round, I'm not going to complain because I probably give him a third or a fourth round grade. But you lack quarterbacks in this draft. And I think Milroe probably has, outside of Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, the highest upside of quarterbacks in the draft for Milroe. Okay. I was like, Milroe's not fat, but I do think he's got the largest upside in the draft. I really do think he does. James, are you around? I know you're not doing anything today. I'm gonna put you in I'm gonna put the link in the chat, James. There you go, James. I'm gonna put the link in the chat. You need to come on, because we got to talk about this. We got to talk about what we were talking about on the phone earlier. We got to talk about this real quick. I think Jaylen Milroe's got the highest upside outside of Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. I think that you keep hearing that Pittsburgh is interested in Dart. And to me, Pittsburgh is a great landing spot for Dart because of the fact that you'll get the tutelage under Mike Tomlin. You're going to go into a pretty much ready situation. I still think Aaron Rodgers is going there. I saw this one about Tyler. Hey, Tim, what do you think about Tyler? Because you have a lot of Giant fans that want him instead of Shador Sanders. Well, he's like 80. He's Brandon Whedon. He has a history of injury issues. He's been in college since 1947, I think. I think he's already, this is the funny thing to say about a kid coming out of college. I think he's already peaked athletically. I said the same thing about Kenny Pickett, who was a 5-year starter at Pittsburgh. I said, if you look at Kenny Pickett, I think he peaked athletically that last year, and that's going to be it. And people are like, well, you're just saying it because people are saying he has small hands. I didn't know he had small hands at the time I said it. I just said if you looked at his career and his progression, he peaked athletically his 5th year in college. And everyone's like, well, Tyler's got this thing about him. Yeah, he'll probably be 30 when he starts. I think Brandon Whedon was 30. Was Brandon Whedon, or was it Chris Winkie? I think Chris Winkie was 28 when he came out. Older quarterbacks that come out just don't play well. And that's it. Bart Scott and Carlin were killing Milroe on the show, but I'm with you on him. Cannon of an arm, freakishly fast. What Rutgers? What the Rutgers OT? What? Oh, I want. Okay, I want. Oh, okay. Milroe is a project. Plain and simple. But you have time. You have time to sit him for a year. If you go back to his last game of his college career and you go back to the Senior Bowl, and then from the Senior Bowl to the Pro Day, you see this progression in his footwork and his mechanics. And like I said, it was the outs. It was the out patterns. It was the out routes that really impressed me with Jaylen Milroe, because you watched him physically, mechanically, and with his footwork. You're like, okay, he's really improved on his accuracy. And I love it because we've talked about it a billion times before, because everyone likes to point this with Jackson Dodd. Jackson Dodd had like a 10.6 completion yardage per completion last year, the highest in NCAA football. Who was third? At like 10.3. Oh, Jaylen Milroe. What is he outside? What are you doing outside?
I thought it was nicer outside.
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's supposed to rain till the ark fucking shows up in Noah.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at that now. Oh well. What are you gonna do?
Not much you can. It looks like it's snowing there for a minute. I thought it was snowing.
Yeah, no. It's funny. You look at the sky. It looks like it would snow. I guess if we weren't in spring.
When the spring. Oh my goodness, great. Wait a minute. Logic Fun says a lot of freak athletes that have flamed out in the pros: Gerald Wilkins, Kenny Walker, Tim Brown, Johnny Manziel. Well, first of all, Gerald Wilkins, Little Neek, actually had a very good career for a guy taking the second round out of Tennessee, Chattanooga. Or was that Bernard King came out of Tennessee, Chattanooga with Ernie Grunfeld.
Yeah.
Gerald Wilkins had a very good career. I've already told this story. The Roxy in Orlando, Florida, Gerald was playing for the Magic. We were in the VIP room. He was there with his brother Dominique, and I loaned them $100 because they didn't have enough to clear out their tab. And then they're like, "Oh no, I'll hit you up. We'll come back in the club and we'll hit you up with the money we got." I was like, "All right, fine," because we were drinking all night together. I guess it was 8 or 9 years ago in Wells Fargo Center. Again, the Sixers versus the Hawks. Gerald Wilkins, and not Gerald, Dominique Wilkins is an announcer or does play-by-play stuff for the Hawks network. So I see him on the court. So I waving, and I was like, "Hey, Neek," I said, "You still owe me $100." Do you know that motherfucker tried to get me thrown out of the stadium?
Are you serious? I thought he would just try to be like, "Oh yeah, I got you, man."
We were
whatever.
Sitting 2 rows behind the away bench. And I had security come up to me and tell me, Mr. Wilkins is saying that you are being. And I only said one thing that was like, you're being very disparaging. You're
Oh
being very
wow, they brought out the
disparaging.
big words.
And I was like, what the hell, man? But that's so. But James, what are we gonna do?
That's actually a funny story.
Tell me what we're
It's
gonna
actually
do.
Joe Flacco is on the Browns. I don't know if you mentioned that.
So they're not
They
taking
just
a quarterback.
so if you go by Giants logic, then they're not taking a quarterback. So because they have Flacco and Kenny now, and are rehabbing Deshaun, so they're good. They're good on quarterbacks.
Yeah, they don't need a quarterback now.
So they're going to take Hunter, and then all the gods and deities of the world, ancient and new, are going to have Sanders there at 3, and we're going to take Sanders. I'm just going to keep putting that into the ether. I have to.
If we reached a point where we're sitting there at 3, and let's just say Travis Hunt. Let's for sake of all sakes, let's say Cam Ward goes 1,
Which he is.
And let's say Travis Hunter goes 2, and you have Shador Sanders sitting there at 3. You already brought in 2 players. You've already brought in guys that you would probably say are not long-term solutions for the Giants. What do you say, in your heart of all hearts, if that scenario happens, where do you think the Giants go?
I'm from the sports. Like I told you in Black Ice, that we're turning into dinosaurs. We're like fossils with the way we think, the way we talk, sports related, otherworldly things too. But we'll just keep it to sports. But in the sports world, I'm a dinosaur. So again, I didn't do all that losing and have all these putrid years to draft a DB. I just
Or
I like
or a defensive tackle.
or defensive tackle, especially when again we have not drafted a quarterback in 5 years.
Oh, wait a minute! I found it for you. There you go. That's how close I was to Dominique, yelling at him that he owed me money.
Oh, he's like, "Who's this white guy?" He's like, "Get him out of here, George."
I think
get
he
him
knew
out of
who
here.
I was. I think he knew who I was.
Get that guy out of here. That guy right there.
And
Get him out of here.
If I'm not mistaken, Dominique went bankrupt. So that's probably why.
He tried to Charles Oakley you. How horrible is that?
He tried to Charles Oakley me, and
Get you out of there.
I was like, "Come on, man!" I was like, I actually didn't say I was a big fan, but I was like, "But that's when he tried to get rid of me."
Small world. World is crazy.
It's not a small world. You owed me money.
Well, that's how the rich stay rich before they go broke.
But like I said, we were sitting. Here we go. We were literally. This is where we sit when I go to the Sixers game. This is where we sit. This is the same game. So we're sitting right there, and I laughed because, like I said, that's when security came over to me and said, "Mr. Wilkins says that you were being a disturbance."
Oh, okay, disturbance. Oh, I thought you said. I was about to say.
I was being a
disturbing the game.
I was being a disturbance for asking for the fucking $100 he still owes me and his cheapskate brother.
That's hilarious. And both of them played in the league.
Didn't Gerald Wilkins go to jail? Isn't Gerald Wilkins in jail?
He's not. I don't think he's in jail. He might have got arrested. I don't know. I can't even think of off the top of the head though.
So if the Giants don't take Shador Sanders at 3, what do you think happens on draft night? I'm going to be there at draft night. I'm going to be in the stadium.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on live with Dom.
Stream with Dom. So I'm going to be there for this hard hitting expose.
It's hard hitting event. All right. I'm in my 40s. I have to speak reality. So reality, right? Let's say Shane really doesn't want to take the quarterback. Let's say Hunter is gone at 2. I do think all the Carter stuff is a smokescreen. That stuff I do think is a smokescreen because we're not.
Do you really think that's a smokescreen?
The Carter stuff, I do. Like I do believe that they're in on Hunter. I think they're a lot more in on Shador than they're letting people on. But the Carter stuff, from a roster standpoint, from a need standpoint, it doesn't make sense. You know, again, we're best player available. I understand that, but it's also a thing of, again, in football. I brought up baseball. I'm a big baseball guy. Pitching is what's really important. Aaron Judge looks great, torpedo bat and all. That's great. Big guy holding a skinny bat, belting out 60 home runs. You look great, but guess what? Great pitching most of the time it outduels hitting. And in football, you're nothing without a quarterback. Look at the 49ers. They've had a stacked team for years.
Yeah.
For years, and had two guys come in, take them to Super Bowls that couldn't get them over the hump, and now they're losing the team. Is that what you guys want to be?
So they could sign Brock Purdy.
So they can overpay Brock Purdy because, and if Jim Harbaugh turns around Trey Lance over there, oh my God. Just dark thought. But do you want to be the 49ers East? That's what we want to be? Okay. We'll build the team, and then we'll just pick up quarterbacks along the way. Sure. That's not what you do.
But can you explain something to me? I would like this explained to me.
Mm-hmm.
You have Giant fans that think that we are going to the playoffs, that doing all these things, we're going to the playoffs, we're going to go do this, we're going to go do that. But in the same breath, these same people are saying, well, we're going to go get Arch Manning. We don't need to worry about it. We'll get through the Jameis Winston, Russ Wilson scenario,
Phase.
and
Yeah.
next year we'll go out and we will go out and get Arch Manning. But how are you going to explain to me, James, how are you going to make the playoffs and then turn around and then the next season draft number 1 overall?
Even if you don't make the playoffs, and let's say we win 8 games, you're gonna be like where the Raiders are lower. Like we're gonna be in a weird spot where you're gonna have to mortgage the people don't want to mortgage the farm to move up for Ward. They don't even
Right.
want to give up a couple picks to move up to 2 to
Okay,
get Sanders.
Thank you.
Right?
Okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They don't even want to do that. If we win a few more games, which again, we have on paper better quarterbacks than we did prior. So if the combination of Crabman and Wilson can win us some more games, we're not going to be in a position that we're in now. And then we're going to have to trade up and give up the farm anyway for
Right.
a guy that we're all hoping is going to be good in 2 years. Hoping. We don't know what's going to happen with Archie. Like, we're just going off the name.
Right.
It's a very weird thing. That's a very weird thing with the Archie Manning thing. And I don't want to hate on the kid. I don't like hating on nobody, because you had to work to get there, and we weren't there with Archie, in the gym and all that. But we don't know if he's going to be good. And the thought of we don't want to take the quarterback now. We didn't take the quarterback last year in a quarterback-heavy draft, but we'll wait 2 years for a kid that we hope is good and hope is healthy and hope we're in a position to get him. That's a lot of hoping.
That's what I'm saying. But that's the point I'm bringing up. You are literally saying that it's not worth going up 2 spots to what you're going to have to probably swap. You're going to have to swap ones. You're probably going to have to give up like a 2 and a 5 and something else.
Yeah.
But for some ungodly reason, you are going to make this outstanding trade where you go from like 24 up to 1.
We gave up a haul to get Eli, right? Like some of those picks actually turned into players,
right?
Who helped the Chargers, have a great winning for like 10 years, helped them have a winning team. And I don't know why people are so okay with wanting to do that for Archie and a hope for the future when we're sitting here right now. And again, if we had a really good GM, he'd be on the phone with the Browns right now and be like, hey, man, listen, if you're really going to take Hunter or Carter, let us move up to 2 so we can get our guy, move right there to 3. You have your choice of Hunter or Carter. And then if you don't want that, then you can trade out with somebody else and still get another hauler pick.
We'll give you our additional 5th round pick.
You know, like even if they like, honest to God, if they wanted a 3rd round pick to move up one, considering everything we've been through, I would do it. It's a little much to move up one spot, but to get your quarterback, a 3rd or 4th round pick. I mean, a 5th rounder is not even that's not even a thought. You know, the Cowboys just got Joe Milton for a 5th round.
Because Joe's going to fuck up the 5th round pick anyways. Davey, I don't know the other Wilkins brothers because I think there's only 2 Wilkins brothers. I only think there's Dominique.
Backup center?
I know.
Oh, wow. I don't know him.
There's Damian Wilkins, which is
I know
Gerald's
him.
son.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's another Wilkins brother in reference to Gerald and Dominique. I think there's only 2 brothers. I think they have a sister. Or are you talking about the WNBA Sky or whatever it is? But I don't think they have another. I don't think there's another Wilkins brother. I'm almost 100% positive there isn't. And Kenny's nickname was Kenny Skywalker. That's a little bit easy. Come on.
Yes, sir.
That's a little bit easy. Off Broadway says, I thought James was smoking a blunt the way he was dragging on that cigarette.
Oh, no, I finished that before I got on Broadway.
I was going to say, as we said, springtime predictions make a lot of people poorer. Yeah, they do. But Davey, who's Eddie Lee Wilkins? Eddie Lee Wilkins was not related to the Wilkins brothers.
You just because his last name is Wilkins and he's black.
and Eddie Lee Wilkins spells his last name with an E. Gerald and Dominique spell it with an I-N, not an E-N. They're not brothers. I remember it. I remember Eddie Lee Wilkins. I remember Ken.
I'm just messing with you, Davey.
But no, David, that's they're not related. Or
I'm just messing with you, bro.
Or as Forrest would say about Bubba, no, sir, we are not relations.
We are not relations.
They're not related. No, it's spelled totally.
Let me ask you a question.
Was Lenny Wilkins' brother? Yes, that was Lenny Wilkins. The former.
Oh, Lenny. Yeah, the coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not Jared.
Who was also a good player.
Yeah. Yes. People forget Lenny Wilkins was also a good player outside of being a good head coach with the Cavaliers and a few other teams.
Let me ask you a question. What is the worst case scenario for the draft? Like, what is the worst thing that can happen? Would you, in your like the number one that would set us back probably another 2-3 years?
Ooh, for the Giants? Ooh.
Other than doing something crazy like taking Jackson Dart at 3, I don't want to say anything outlandish like that.
I was going to say something stupid like taking Milroe or Dart at 3. Worst case scenario for the Giants. This is worst case. The worst case.
Like real talk, yeah.
Cam goes 1, like everyone thinks. Hunter goes 2. And then the Giants go Mason Graham.
Ooh.
And then either he falls or the Cowboys trade up and grab Shedeur Sanders.
Oh, you know what? That is pretty bad.
That's bad.
I didn't think that's pretty. That would mean we don't get Sanders, so this half of the fan base isn't happy. Then we wouldn't take Hunter either, so that side of the fan base isn't happy. And you go take Graham. That's good.
And then wait, I'm not done yet. There's still more to this.
Oh my God, he's not done. Folks.
And then in your division, you have Jaden Daniels, Hurts, Sanders, and then whomever we have.
Yeah, you know what? That would actually be probably Mm-hmm. To not get Sanders or Hunter, you don't trade that, and then you take Mason Graham, and then then you watch your divisional rival. Yeah, that would.
It's almost as bad. It's almost as bad as watching the Eagles trade up with the Cowboys to grab Devontae Smith, and then we trade out of the spot with the Bears, and then we watch Parsons go to the Cowboys.
Yeah, that was a bad one. Watching that in real time, it's like you're on the highway and your car is just, your engine's dying and everybody's just passing and you're like, what's going on? What's going on?
That still reminds me of the Giants drive, seeing Josh Allen, the linebacker, defensive end from Kentucky, sitting there in that Daniel Jones draft and seeing him fall to us at 6. and then we go Daniel Jones. And like I said, Tom Coughlin, who was then the president of football operations at Jacksonville, literally after the commissioner finished saying Daniel Jones, quarterback, Duke, literally it was like, okay, well I'm sorry, the next pick is already in. I mean, he literally ran that shit up to the podium.
Yeah, we got our guy. You know, the Redskins are hot on his tail.
The Redskins, but don't worry, we trade up for Banks one spot for a team that didn't even take a corner. I want to talk about one last thing because I got to be out of here at 12:30. I only jumped on the stream today because someone texted me or DM'd me and said I need something at lunchtime to keep me going. Could you do a stream today? And I was like, all right. I wasn't going to do a stream today, but I was like, all right, why not? This whole Abdul Carter Parsons comparison. I'm not. I don't get it. I look at Abdul Carter's play the first 2 seasons where he was an off the ball linebacker. I think he averaged 50 something tackles. You know, nothing spectacular. Penn State loses 2 defensive end starters to the draft last year. They take advantage of his size, not his size. They take advantage of his speed by putting him on the defensive line. And then I look at Parsons, who had 109 tackles his last season at Penn State, 14 for a loss, 5.5 sacks, was an every down linebacker who was, and I said, has this instinctive feel for the game. But somehow people want to compare a guy that was a 3-year player at Penn State in Abdul Carter against a 2-year player who showed its instinctively more football skills outside of using the dip. But I see all these comparisons now that, well, you can put Abdul Carter at linebacker because Parsons did it. Parsons was already a linebacker. Parsons was not a defensive end. This is where and Parsons could cover. Parsons still can't cover, but right now in the NFL, one of the things that he does extremely well is go after the quarterback. Is there a lion there?
A what?
It sounded like you had a lion.
No, you're the one with the wolf. That was just a plane going overhead.
But I don't understand how people, if you take a look at the body of work between the two players positionally, how people are sitting there saying Abdul Carter is Parsons. I don't see the comparison. I don't get it. Explain it to me.
Well, like I try to tell my girl I love all the time, men are visual creatures. So when we see something, it registers in our brain probably in a different way than it does the opposite sex, you know? So I'm saying all that to say when most fans look at Carter, he's in a Penn State jersey.
And he's wearing 11. And
he's wearing number 11. And
he's got the headband.
He's got the headband, and you know what? He's the same color and the same. It's good, brother.
That's and
you know, and it's funny because I was going to bring Greg up. You're gonna live a long time. I was going to say, you know, I made a joke like he's, you know, I said, you know, comparing Carter to Parsons is like comparing Jones to Eli, and it's not, you know, as bad because we know how far the gap is with Jones and Eli, but it's just the thing of they've seen him at Penn State. They see him doing similar things. He seems athletic. He's black. He wears number 11. And that guy's going to be Parsons. And as a Giants fan, I can say that I'll let Greg go. Parsons is a beast.
Yeah.
I don't care about his podcasting and off the field and getting into it with teammates. But on the field, that is what you want your linebacker to be. That's what we need. We haven't taken a linebacker worth a damn in a while either. But I don't know where it comes from. I just think it's a visual thing. People are, you know, and we live in an era now where people love to make comparisons and, oh, look, that guy came from the same school. He's going to do the same thing. So, you know, Greg, he can elaborate on that, though.
Yeah, Parsons only has 52 sacks over 4 seasons in the NFL and only played 13 games last year and had 12 and a half. But, you know, he's a fucking bum.
You know.
He's a bum.
I think Carter is he's not Michael Parsons, but he has great closing speed. His speed is like almost unmatched, you know. But like like you said, he needs to develop more pass I guess moves and stuff like that to be away from the defender. But he's also a little bit undersized and bigger. I think when he goes to the NFL and it's more talented, bigger, faster people that they negate that speed factor. So
he's got all the pass rushing moves he needs.
Yeah. That's not going to work in the NFL.
Like Kayvon, I'm going to push him to the outside. I'm going to make him loop around, and then I'm going to take a tight end or a back and put him on that side of the field and chip him when he comes across.
And let me be devil's advocate here. In Carter's defense, I think Carter is a way superior talent than Kayvon Thibodeau. In my personal opinion.
But we took Kayvon. Well, that's true because we took Kayvon at 5, and we're going to take Carter at 3.
Yeah. I get it. What do you think about my scenario, Tim? What I said, I know it sounds like far fetched, and you ignored my comments, so I know you don't like it.
It's not that I don't like it, but you are not going to get Hunter and Sanders.
But
where's that coming from, Greg? Why do I see all this stuff online that we're going to get both of those guys?
Listen to my logic. Listen to my logic.
Go ahead.
Okay.
When C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson got selected, albeit the Texans had the 12th pick, right? They traded up and they got Will Anderson and they got C.J. Stroud in the same draft, who was an offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year, right?
Right.
So the Giants would have to sweeten the pot a whole lot, but it could happen. And if you're going to miss out on most of the players in the draft anyway, why not fucking do it? Excuse my language.
Because of the fact that you have to have trading partners. And you have to remember Anderson went 3rd overall.
Yeah.
And Anderson, I believe that was part of the Cleveland trade. So they had already traded before. This was already preordained before the draft. It's not like they moved up. They already had 1 and 3. They've had it for a while. So we don't have 3 and you would probably need like 3 and 7.
So if you would propose to say a team for like Atlanta, for instance, who picks 7th or something like that, right?
Right.
If you this year's number 1, I mean,
you can't give this year's number 1 because
you can't. I'm sorry. I messed up already.
That's okay.
So, okay. Our second round, maybe 2/3, maybe a 5th, and next year's 1. Would you do it?
No.
Too much?
Too much. Way too much.
You know, it's crazy. I would do it, but you know what the problem is, guys? The simplest thing. Forget all this and that. We don't have a good GM, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's not
he's not thinking that deep.
That's the problem you have. You also are going to be giving more draft capital to Joe Shane.
Oh yeah, we're going to give more rope to hang himself.
Yeah, you got more rope to hang yourself.
Joe Shane, like, I don't get Mara's logic of keeping him around. Like, we can't even build a roster now. He's drafting for his job. He's making free agent choices to save his job. And if we fired him, we could have took best player available. We could start at quarterback. We could have meant many different avenues. And like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Like I said,
he looks the part.
He looks the part. He does look.
He looks the part.
I didn't ignore your comment about that. It's not feasibly possible because then what you're doing is you are then wasting your draft capital for next year on a guy in Sanders who's probably not going to start for at least another year or 2. And then you probably are going to go under the assumption that the Giants are not going to have a great season because of their schedule next year, which means you could be giving up a top 10 pick.
I can see Sanders if he was selected by the Giants. He'll start by game 11, 10 or something like that. Because Winston with those so many picks, he'll get chased out of town.
But you got Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson, I can see him getting hurt, or Russell's not the answer either. Let's face it. You know, so I can see Sanders starting maybe at the end of the season.
Well, I think Sanders starts at the end of the season either way. I think he goes either way because you're going to have to play him at some point in time. But then if you're playing a rookie quarterback, which means you're more likely going to pile up some more losses, which means now that pick you traded for 2026 is maybe in the top 4.
Yeah. And let me tell you guys something. Everyone's talking about Archie Manning, right? There's this guy from South Carolina, Livonian Sellers. Watch that guy's tape. He will be number 1 quarterback next year. I mark my words.
South Carolina, you said?
Yeah, Livonian Sellers.
I'll check him out.
Like I said, right now, I don't even know what this draft class looks like for quarterback. It looks pretty bad.
No, I'm a little bit of a draft nerd. I used to buy these like draft books, like this, like back in the days, make my own mock drafts.
The Alton Sports Guide and the Sports,
Oh wow!
Sports
You
Illustrated.
just brought it back. Sky brought up books, guys.
Sporting News used to have one.
Yeah, exactly.
Which did a real good.
Oh, Sporting News, yeah.
Do they even have the Sporting News anymore?
No, I don't.
That's a damn good. I don't think so. Yeah,
because that was always because the Alton Sports Draft Guide and the Sporting News, those were two good ones that you always had to have.
You know that one year when we drafted Ramses Barden and I forgot the other players was, I called the first 5 I called that first 5 picks. I got it right. I got no lie and call my friend. He'll tell you I called the first 5 picks and it was that exactly.
Well, if you picked Ramses Barden,
I was going to say you picked Ramses Barden.
I'll be fighting Joe Shane.
Outside of his 10 catches in that game against the Panthers, I think he had like 4 for the rest of his career.
You know, I saw 6'5" in speed. I was like, yeah, get him. I was like,
This is a good question, and this is the thing right here. Trade back with the Raiders, send Kayvon in the 3rd for their 1st round pick. I don't think the Raiders do it.
That's where it's at. Who? They said who? Casper?
I don't
want that guy.
You're gonna have to pick up the Raiders. Gonna have to pick up his $16 million option. So I don't think the Raiders. That's the thing,
and that's why we're not taking Carter, y'all. For what Tim just said, I don't think people are. We have to pick up his $16 million option. Then obviously, what'd you say, Greg?
Well, the thing is this: you pick up the $60 million option. You have Brian Burns, so you already have like $33 million tied up in your defensive end. You got another 20 something tied up into Dexter Lawrence, so you have almost 60. And then you take someone like a Carter or Graham, you got like $70 million tied up into your defensive line. That better be one hell of a defensive line for $70+ million. Now, Greg, I brought this up many times before, and I'm going to keep saying it over and over again to people hear me, because Logan Ryan heard me. Can you justify taking Abdul Carter at 3 if he's going to be a package player? That you're going to, because people are like, well, we're just going to reinvent the NASCAR again, and he's going to be a package player.
Reinvent the NASCAR.
It's the guy at 3, unless he's a quarterback that you're going to sit, you're going to sit, needs to be an impactful player, because that's why you're picking him at 3, because you sucked. So can you really sit there and say, well, we're only going to play Carter 40% of the times and justify that the fact that he's not going to be, if I'm picking 3, that guy better be on the fucking 85-90% of the snaps. I don't care what position he's playing, because I picked him at 3. He should be a guy that comes in and has an immediate impact. Can you sit there and honestly look at Carter and say, we could take him at 3, use him in a package type scenario, and still justify the pick?
This is a really hard one, because I think Carter is a fantastic, phenomenal talent. I didn't want to shortcome him. He's a fantastic talent. But for 40% of the snap, if we get rid of Thibodeau, I would consider it. But no, I don't think you can't miss a Shador. Just stop playing. Get Shador or Travis. Get Shador first of all. Do anything you can do to get Shador. And people say, no, Joe's coaching for his job. That saves his job because he drafted a rookie. Dummies.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. Thank you, Greg. I don't. If you draft, my fault, Tim. If you draft a good young quarterback who can actually play, that will automatically make Mara keep both of them around, because he's not going to want to disturb the continuity. Right. You mooks.
Yes.
My God.
The guy, pal, listen. Did you watch Carter play his first 2 years at Penn State as an off-the-ball linebacker?
Yeah, I looked up his stats.
I'm actually talking. I'm going to get to you in a second, but I'm talking to the guy, pal. And I actually didn't look. I watched him play. I went back and watched him play for 2 years. There was nothing special. Parsons, when he was a linebacker, especially that last year with 109 tackles, 14.5 for a loss, 5.5 sacks, you could see he was special. He was an every down player. He was a sideline to sideline guy. They thought so much of Parsons Carter at that position after his first 2 years. When they had that 2 guys get drafted last year, they moved him to defensive end, not thinking, well, if he's going to turn into a superstar like Parsons, why would we put him at the defensive end position unless they felt that was his best opportunity to play and play well? That's all I'm saying. So you can't put him in a linebacker because he's really. I watched him for 2 years. I don't get it. Even OGR, who's a huge Penn State fan, said the same thing. I don't get it. I watched the kid play for 2 years. He was okay as an off the ball linebacker, but nothing. He was not a Parsons. So that's why you can't move him in linebacker. But go ahead, Greg. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was responding. I thought you were asking me a question. I'm sorry.
No.
Well, no, go ahead. No.
I just wanted to. Oh, Slider's back. Hey, Slider. He's taking his 10-minute break at work. No, but that's the only thing I wanted to say. I can't see him. But James, can you even justify taking Abdul Carter at 3 with Kayvon Thibodeau, with Brian Burns, with the fact that he's going to be a package player, that you're going to pick you need to pick an impact player at 3 that's going to be something special?
Well, I'll be honest.
Something special.
The thing that bothers me is, and maybe Greg knows more about it, but he has a little injury concern as well.
Well, I forget about the foot all the time.
Like it's not like he's if he was 100% healthy and he was out here pulling carts with donkeys on them and like showing off but okay, but the guy actually has an injury concern on top of the fact, like the brothers just said, our roster is we're not really in the shape or space to take a guy like that. But when you add the injury and then the money factor, like Tim is saying, that's not what's going to help the team, and that's not what's going to help these guys keep their job.
And he's been hurt since January. And
he's been hurt a while.
Hasn't participated in the combine, did not participate in his pro day. And everyone always brings up the foot. I always forget about the foot. It's
and foot injuries in sports usually don't go away.
When you're a speed guy and you rely on the dip and your shoulders hurt and your one foot is hurt, that kind of eliminates your speed a little bit.
And if he doesn't have his speed, then that kind of takes away from part of his game.
Does anyone remember Andre Bruce?
No.
First number 1 overall pick for years ago, going back to the Atlanta Falcons. Big speed rushing linebacker. Was going to next Lawrence Taylor was going to, I believe he came out of Georgia, was going to revolutionize the rush going after the quarterback. He was going to make everything, he was going to make the Atlanta Falcons be something that they weren't. Well, you know what happened? And he was the can't miss prospect.
Oh, love that.
He flamed out he basically flamed out in Atlanta and just bounced around the league. Because he was a guy that was not, I was going to say he was 6'5", 265 pounds, but the problem was he wasn't big enough to be a true defensive end, and he was too big to be a linebacker. He played from 1988 to 1998, 10 years, had a total of 32 sacks, and he was taken first overall. Wow. And I always love when people go, everyone go look up Andre Bruce and get back to me. But he's this can't miss prospect that's going to be the most revolutionary player. And it came out of Auburn that he was going to be this biggest revolutionary player ever. Consensus number 1 overall pick as a rookie, all this fun stuff. But like I said, he was not really a linebacker, not really a defensive end. Used his speed primarily coming out of Auburn. The problem was his speed got negated as soon as he got to the NFL. And this is a guy that went number 1 overall. And it kind of reminds me of Abdul Carter because at 6'5", 250 pounds when he came in the league, he was too big for a linebacker, but he was an undersized defensive end, and he relied on his speed at Auburn. And then when he got to the league and he didn't have any other moves, this is a guy that went number 1 overall, in 1988. And he played for 10 years, but he was never a player that anyone thought he was going to be.
What's that defensive end from Oregon? Like he was picked in the top 10, I think top 5 from he rhymes with Kayvon Thibodeau.
He rhymes with Kayvon Thibodeau?
Yeah. What's his name? DeAndre Jordan or something like that?
Yeah.
Similar type of player. Yeah, exactly. Trash. He's probably out the league now.
It happens. I don't know, guys. I just keep seeing these, and the Giants are going to do something stupid.
I think the Giants. I think Joe Shane. I think he's doing a lot of smoke screens right now. I hope.
I don't think Joe Shane's that smart. You give him a lot of credit, Greg.
I know. I'm thinking what I would do. So, but
You
I love
can't
me
think
some
what you would
Shador.
do, Greg. You're smart. You
Yeah,
can't do
you're
that.
smart.
You can't
Don't
do
think
that, man.
don't think of what you would do. Think of what Joe Shane would do.
You have to get Shador at this point, man. Stop playing. Punch the ticket. Run to the podium. It's so simple. Check it off. Think about the people in the stand. You know what people won't hire? They probably know what people are scared with Shador. I think his dad. Because if you have a bad season next year, guess what? There's a good chance prime time's coming to town.
Yeah, but that's the problem, though. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, and I think a lot of Giant fans think that. I think a lot of Giant fans think ahead of that. I just don't. I don't know. I'm just not. You know what I was thinking? Someone mentioned it the other day, and I kind of thought about this, and they're kind of right. You know who Abdul Carter reminds me a lot of? And I was just thinking about this because we have a lot of Eagle fans that are always come in the chat. He does remind me of Nolan Smith.
Oh,
He
Good
remember
player.
now
him?
he not well he had 6.5 sacks last year for the Eagles. You know, he's a speed guy. He doesn't do much else. He had like 40 something tackles last year. So he started learning his position more, but he kind of reminds me of a Nolan Smith. That's I would say of Abdul Carter right now, outside of Andre Bruce, that's what he reminds me of.
Yeah, but the Eagles is like you got the they have so
Well,
many sacks to go around in that line. There's not enough for
He can
everybody.
hide better
yeah,
on that team.
but to Greg's point, you can hide his deficiencies better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
You
I
know,
think I think he's gonna I think Abdul Carter in the linebacker position is gonna get exposed in the NFL.
What did we
we
do at three?
we take the term best player available too literally, right? Like people are sitting up here saying Hunter or Carter are the best players available over Sanders, right? But best player available also has to go with
What
need
you do?
and what you need in your team. When we took Saquon, arguably you could have said if we had better scouts, we probably should have looked deeper at the quarterbacks that year for
Well, they
somebody
were
that
busted.
came down around like number 11, 12. But we took Saquon because Saquon was a gold jacket player, as Tim always says, and we didn't have a running back. So it also made sense for us to take him.
Yeah.
Us taking Carter or Hunter, it's not the same thing.
And you still had
It's not.
Eli Manning, who you were trying to get one more year out of, and you had Odell Beckham.
So it was a better fit. It was a better fit to take. Yes, taking a running back at 2 is very high. But as he has proven pretty much his whole career, especially last year, he was worthy of the number 2 pick. And he fit us. And he fit the Eagles even better. Who knew that?
David, outside of his last game for Carter, who had that one sack against I believe he's a freshman offensive lineman, who basically after Carter's one sack kept Carter's dick in the dirt the entire game. What did he do? Yeah, I watched. What did he do? What did he do that was game? Because last time I checked, they didn't make the championship game.
And what does he mean? Did we watch Kayvon? I've watched Kayvon damn near every snap his whole
Yeah.
career. Because from minute one, I told Tim I don't like that guy.
You did.
From minute one, the first play, Greg, I said I don't like that guy. First of all, I don't like pretty guys anyway. No offense to the pretty boys out there, but that guy, I don't damn sure don't like pretty athletes, especially in football.
You know what I said in the comments before? They need to drop Kayvon Thibodeau off in the jungle, Bogota, Colombia somewhere, like so he can get mean. You know, like
He would get eaten by the monkeys.
I would say he's gonna get eaten.
Do you know what's in the Bogota jungle? The insects would kill him.
The Venus flytrap.
The centipedes would kill him. Are you crazy?
You would literally be someone would literally be over in the rainforest. They'd be looking around and see a boa constrictor and go, "Wow, that looks just like Kayvon Thibodeau."
It'd be like Anaconda when he spit back up voice. Oh, it's Kayvon. That's where he was.
That's where he went.
Damn it. He was hiding in the belly.
Well, Strider, thank you again for taking your 10-minute break. Listen, guys, I got to head out of here. I'm supposed to be out here at 12:30. I want to thank everyone that was watching the show today. I want to thank Big Greg. I want to thank Big James for everyone for coming on this New York Giants Straight Talk by Urban Online Big Blue LLC. Stay tuned for the new video sponsored by Southern New Hampshire University, which will be out next week. And till then, we're out of here. Peace.
Let's go, Mets.
Let's go Mets.